how can you motivate people to stay true to their authentic self?
I feel like when people are told that, and I feel like now more so than ever, we're talking about being yourself, being your authentic self. We think it's just a process that just happens overnight, and it's not. I'm still discovering who I am, and I'm still discovering myself. So I would say, and as hard as it is, I think I spoke about it earlier, is self-belief is really the thing that will like smash your limiting beliefs, because everything, like you start and begin, the start and the end is all in your mind. And I feel like when you have learned to overcome those limiting beliefs and smash trying to be in a standard and knowing that you are an individual and we're all unique, and that is our superpower. So just be yourself. People aren't gonna want to know like the same person, like take accounting for example. You get the same sort of people, like you don't even know different names, you just know they act the same. But then if you find like, oh, like, hey, in this accounting firm, this one person is always wearing elaborate colors, you're going to remember that person, aren't you? And when you look back at it, you're not going to think about the other nine. You're going to think about, yeah, in that company, there was this person. That's what makes you unique. So I've had to learn to unlearn everything that I've been taught to then just to be happy with myself, because I think a lot of those feelings come from being unhappy because of society, being feeling unworthy. And every morning I wake up and do affirmations, I'm like, I deserve to be here, I deserve to be in this room, I shouldn't be anyone else, I'm Ruth for a reason. And exploring yourself, I would say, can definitely help you to overcome that.
I think it's great that we make memories in a unique way, because memories are what we talk about. Of course, the rememberable is also what we live for. So I definitely agree. Anna, do you want to ask a question?
How did you overcome the sort of barrier of being different?
It's just knowing I can't change myself. I talked about my experience in the corporate world, to being a triple whammy, literally ticking all the diverse boxes. Sometimes start thinking, am I diverse, higher, or what? But I couldn't be a man. I couldn't be old. I couldn't change the color of my skin, and all I had to do was just be me. Like, there's nothing more that I can do. So instead of trying to focus on what I need to become, I just started focusing on just who I am. And I just brought myself. I was sweet, I was nice. When I'm supposed to be rude, I was killing them with kindness. Like, I was just being myself. And it started to feel easy, because when you're trying to be something, it's always hard, because you're putting on a mask and you're putting on like all of these things. Yeah, you're putting on a facade, and it's hard to keep a facade, because at some point it's going to start cracking, it's going to start breaking, and people aren't going to like what's behind. So it was a long process. Like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. I had to recondition my brain to just think like, I'm me. That's all I can give to this world. And who doesn't want Ruth? I mean, Jesus. I'm just bigging myself up to just like just be who I want to be, and just be myself, really. And I also think to myself, like, the Ruth in 10 years time, every time I want to make a decision, I'm like, the Ruth in 5 years time, the Ruth in 10 years time, how is she going to look back at this? And I want to always look back and say, like, I did everything that I could do, and I was myself. I never had to become someone else, because people won't remember me being someone else, So.
Great. I just want to ask one sort of two questions. Lastly, I want to ask, how did you overcome, or how did you understand that you were under bad influence? How did you get out of it? And when you got out of it, what was your legacy which you wanted to leave behind? What is still your legacy which you want to leave behind?
Yeah. I mean, when you're around bad people. We all know it when we're around bad people. We just choose to not want to, like, take responsibility for our actions in that time. I knew the people that I was around weren't the best of people, but I wanted to fit in, and they gave me a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging. They were like, let's go be naughty. I was like, well, we're doing it together. Do you know what I mean? But I knew those people weren't great. And sometimes, like, it's always great if you can identify that a lot earlier, but sometimes it doesn't always happen like that. And for me, it took, failing my A-levels to know, like, Ruth really, like, and how to overcome that is just taking a step back and deciding, like, what do you want for your life? You know, I said that's not what I want. I don't want to be known as the girl that just like gave up. And I always say, like, I define failure as not trying, because in that moment it felt like it failed. But what was even going to be more of a worse failure was if I did try to get back up. So it's excusing yourself from those environments and taking time to work on yourself. I felt after my A-levels, I wasn't around that influence. I literally had myself. And that's when you start to think that all these people can give you all that sense of belonging and boost your self-esteem. But it all comes down to then, okay, when they're not there, what are you? Who are you? And, you know, I think that's a lot of times why people go through depression, because then they lose that, like, building up and, like, that bolstering that your friends give you. And I would say at that point, yeah, when you think about what legacy I want to leave, I just want to know that I was the change that I wanted to see, whether it's 5 years or 7 years ago or 10 years from now. I just want to keep being that change that I want to see in this world. Everybody says it, but I truly believe that each and every one of us has unique gifts and talents that we need to use to leave the world a better place. So that's the legacy that I want to leave. I want to inspire people and help them and empower them to realizing the full potential. I hope that people will look back when I'm gone and they will say, you know, Ruth made me feel like this. She made me realize, you know, my worth, or she made me like learn about myself, or help me to boost my career, and that's then helped me feel this way, or like, you know, feel confidence in myself. So that's the legacy that I want to leave.
Thank you, Ruth. It was a pleasure to have you, and hopefully you guys learned something as well, to be yourself, definitely.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, do email BYC, or I'll add in also a link for Ruth to email her if you want to. Thank you, and